So work together 8-3. We're going to be going through and preparing some financial statements. And the first thing I want you to do, so what we have here is our financial statement. Now this is the last step for all financial work. So when we take a look at a fiscal period, this is really the last thing that we're doing for our first unit that we have been on since September. Now, when we look at this financial statement, take a look at the very top. We have 3 lines on the top. The 3 lines on the top are always going to be the name of the business, the name of the document, and the date. Okay? The date, you always have to determine the date is, am I saying that this is what it is on this specific day, or am I saying this is what it was for the whole entire fiscal period? Okay? So when we look at this one, we'll talk about what we're doing, what the purpose of this financial statement is, and that'll help us to determine what the date would be. Now, when we look at this financial statement, you will see right here it says account title, and I have specific debit and credit columns. So what do you think has to happen at the end of this? What needs to equal? Debit and credits. Would you agree? I have a debit column and I have a credit column. And in accounting, if I have debits and credits, what do they have to do? They have to equal. So when we go through, this statement is called post-closing trial balance. Okay, you've heard of trial balance before, correct? Trial balance is what we do in the very first step of our worksheet. Trial balance is what we do to make sure after we posted all of our transactions that our debits and credits equal. If your trial balance on your worksheet does not equal, you need to stop right there and not do anything else. Okay? You can't finish the rest of your worksheet until your trial balance equals. This document we're doing right here is called our post-closing trial balance. Okay? Post. What do you think post means? Not like riding a horse posting. After. Okay, so in this phrase, post-closing means after closing, what is your trial balance? We need to make sure that we check after we journalized our adjusting and closing entries that our debits and credits still equal. And that's the purpose of this fiscal financial statement, is to make sure our debits and credits equal. Now, the big question is, on a post-closing trial balance, what goes on there? And here is the rule of thumb. If it has a balance, it goes on there. If it doesn't have a balance, it doesn't go on there. So in order to prepare this statement, you need to look at your ledgers. And again, your ledger is where you take information from your journal and put it so I can look to see what my balance of cash is, what my balance of accounts receivable, what my balance of advertising expense is. Now, what should the balance of advertising expense be? The actual amount. Yes, Y0. Post-closing, after closing entry, all of our expenses should be 0. If they have a balance, what does that mean? We might have missed it or might have made a mistake on our posting or our closing entries. Would you agree? So we know that all of our temporary accounts, which is going to be our income summary, revenue, our expenses, and our drawing, should have a 0 balance. If they do not, we have made a mistake. Okay? So the very first thing we're going to put on the top is going to be the name of the business. What's the name of the business for this one? Anyone got it? Darlene's? All right. Now, the name of the statement I've already said is called a post-closing trial balance. Now, a trial balance. We are saying our debits and credits equal this. Am I saying for the whole year of 2013, this is what my debits and credits equaled? Is it possible for me to say that? No, I can't say for a whole fiscal period, this is what my debits and credits equal. But I can say today, this is what my debits and credits equal. So a post-closing trial balance is always going to have a specific day for the date, and it's always going to be the last day of the fiscal period. So when we looked at our directions for going through and journalizing our adjusting and closing entries, it did tell us that we're going to do that on July 31st of the current year. So we go ahead and put that on there. So when I look here at what they give us in Applia, I need to start at the top and put every account that has a balance on there. Doesn't matter the order. Kira's shaking her head yes, and I agree, Kira. What order do they need to be in? So we should have assets and our liabilities and then our owner's equity. Doesn't matter the order of our assets. How do I know which asset goes first? Your account number. So cash should be 110, would you agree? The next account that I need to list needs to be 120. So when you look at how they are given to us on the paper here, note that I have to go account number 110, then I need to go over here to 120, then I need to go here to 130, and then I need to go here to 140. If you don't do it in that order, Applia is going to say, you did it wrong. And I don't want you to get it wrong. Unless you live in North Carolina, then I don't care. Slam a North Carolina in my video today. Sorry, your teacher made me angry, if you're listening. I like the state, not the teacher. Not going to add that out of the video either. Accounts receivable, Romel Woods, is going to be my next one. And you'll notice that accounts receivable is spelled out completely. And accounts receivable, Romel Woods, has a debit balance of $372. All I'm doing is every one of these, and again, when you split your screen, just do them in your order that they're listed here. Every account that has a balance, you're going to go ahead and list on there. So then I'm going to go accounts receivable, Wyatt Ames. Bonus points, can somebody tell me why Romel Woods came before Wyatt Ames? It should be alphabetical order. But one might be a name of a business and one might be a name of a person. Does that make sense? But it should be listed in alphabetical order because that makes it life much easier. Now supplies. Do I put 963 down? No, that would be bad because 963 is what it is before my adjustment. So after my adjustments, my balance of supplies should be 250. Then I'm going to do prepaid insurance. Prepaid insurance is $900 again after the adjustment. And then I'm going to do accounts payable, coal and gas. Now watch out because accounts payable, coal and gas is a liability, and liabilities have a credit balance, and it should have a credit balance of $975. My next liability is going to be accounts payable, Grand Uniforms. And that again also has a credit balance. That's going to have a credit balance of $212. And then I'm going to have, my last account I'm going to put on there is going to be Darlene Wong Capital. And Darlene Wong Capital has a credit balance of $7,773. Now, I know that I'm not going to do any other account after Darlene Wong because I want to point out here when I look, bless you, when we went through and journalized and posted our adjusting and closing entries, Applia told you if it had a zero balance, you needed to put a zero in the debit and a zero in the credit. Now, when we look at this example, they don't have zeros, but what did they do? They drew a straight line to indicate that there isn't a balance. They didn't leave it blank, because leaving it blank looks like, hey, you forgot to do something with it. So here, they drew a straight line, and I can see after Darlene Wong Capital, I have Darlene Wong Drawing, zero balance. Income summary, zero balance. Sales, advertising, insurance, miscellaneous, and supplies, all of those have a zero balance. And again, the rule of thumb for your post-closing trial balance, if it has a balance, it goes on there. If it doesn't have a balance, it doesn't need to go on there. What if I had an accounts receivable account that had a zero balance? Does it need to go on? No. Only accounts that have a balance. Same thing for accounts payable. So I have all of my accounts that have a balance listed. So what I need to do in the bottom here is I'm going to write my favorite word, totals. And I need to write totals and not total because I have more than one number. So therefore, I need to have a total. And go ahead and add up your debits and credits. Here you go, Annie. Break out your handy-dandy little calculator. Unless you're Blue's Clues, then you can use your notebook if you want. Just because you haven't heard me say that joke for like a week. And I know you missed it. So I would add up my debits.
For the accounts receivable, isn't it only $88?
Did I have a typo?
In the thing it says 8800.
88, yes, and I put 808. That would be a typo on my part. Thank you for catching that. My debits and credits would not have equaled. North Carolina? You're welcome, North Carolina. Because Stephen is so advanced, he caught my mistake, my debits and credits equal. How about the rest of you?
Well, my adding was a little off.
Adding is a little off? I got mine to come out after Stephen helped me.
Yeah, it was like 90 million.
Now, if your debits and credits don't equal, what do you have to do? Now, I need you to think back. Do you remember that packet assignment that I gave you, I don't know, like 2 months ago, and I didn't hand back to you, but I graded and I have? Yeah. We are going to do that now. Okay, coming up real soon, I'm going to be giving that back to you, and you're going to have to go through and do a worksheet and do all of your financial statements based on your own work. Now, right here, we know that they didn't make a mistake posting because, well, it's aptly and they gave us the correct answer. They wanted us to learn here. But you are going to have an assignment in this chapter where you're going to journalize and post and get from your own posting. Is it possible for you to make a mistake? Not Noah, though, right? You won't have a mistake at all. You'll nail it. You'll be perfect. Because Ricky's going to help you out, and he does it all the time, right? If your trial balance doesn't equal, and that's the point that I need you to get, if your trial balance doesn't equal, you need to go through, the first thing you need to ask yourself is how much are you off by? If you are off and it's divisible by 9, what does that mean? Think back, think back. What do you mean by number wrong? Flip numbers around. Transposition. Instead of writing 175, you wrote 157. Does that make sense? And you need to check to make sure you didn't do that. Like for my 88, that is kind of like a transposition because I actually added another number. You could also look to see how much you're off by if there is a journal transaction for double that amount, because maybe you did the math incorrect. But anyway, what you need to do if it doesn't work out is go back and look at your posting. Check your math. Make sure you didn't make a mistake. Did you do the read part incorrectly? Again, revenue, expense, income summary, drawing. Did you post those correctly? Do you have the right amounts? Oftentimes what happens, and I'm going to say I'm going to have at least 4 people on the test for this chapter where they try to close capital instead of trying to close income summary and drawing. It's the most common mistake that happens in this chapter. So you need to go back and check that. So I'm just trying to give you some ways for you to go ahead and, oh, I was long-winded with my story today. I'll change due dates. We're good to go. Work on your outlines, please.